Welcome back to The Experience. Today my guest is Ellis Ranko. Thank you for coming on, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you, man. Ellis has he's been around. He's from Violet, Louisiana. He lived in LA for over 10 years, correct?
At about nine and some change months.
And some change.
Yeah. Let's call it a decade, round off.
For the folks listening or watching, what were you doing up there, man? Because you had a different type of job than the average Joe.
Oh, well, California is one of those places you sink or swim. And so my best friend, he's still considered like a brother to me, but he moved there a year prior. Mm-hmm. And I was just finishing up with school at the time. And he was telling me, come out here. This is what you need to do.
Right.
And I was wrestling with going to law school, responsible choices, as my parents would say, property law. Very
smart choices.
Yeah, just the way I was raised in that regard. And so Katrina happened. I had no property or whatever, nothing. I had my car.
Right. And this is pre-Katrina or post-Katrina?
Well, I evacuated.
Right.
And then found out nothing was here. Saw the humanity sign on the flickering TV and was like, okay, well, my parents, we sat down in our escape condo. My mom bought it, luckily, in 04, right before the storm. And I said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to buy that road map, that atlas, and drive 2,200, whatever, 2,000 miles. And
how old were you?
25, but I had all the wind at my sails.
Right.
I had no at that time, all the cell phone towers were blown out.
Mm-hmm. Nextel was a big thing. Remember that? I had that phone.
It was, but you know what? The reality of it is, silence is golden, and enjoy the silence. Is like I mentioned earlier, I could be here while the Depeche Mode concert's happening. But
I'm sorry.
Think about it and enjoy the silence, and use that time. And Texas gives you a lot of silence. 2 days and the desert gets. So by the time I get to LA, I think we went out immediately. I saw Hugh Hefner and his 3 girlfriends at the time. Damn. And I said, I'm getting a good vibe already. And then I found out no insurance money and what have you. But, hard truths shape you up quick. And
yes,
soda is a place like LA that's very unforgiving. It eat you up, chew you out, spit you. And a lot of people think it's easy to make. But no, truth is you got to almost go out there and be selling something. And that's what I learned. I learned how to use some sales acumen I developed earlier in my life and combined it with a passion that I had that then all came together. And I was actually a part of the 2.0.com movement.
Oh, wow.
So I got hired by a tech company, a ticketing company to deal with my friends at the time and pay them money to sell their tickets. Yeah, I would pay for a contract to sell the tickets because we would get service fees and we'd pay our partners back. So we just had a nice
flow,
almost like mafia type deal. Like
that's crazy.
Well, you go pay somebody. Yeah, it's like that's what everybody does. Coke, Pepsi.
Yeah.
You pay them the money, you get the exclusivity. But yes, so I did that for 10 years or something, and we sold that company to Pandora. Then that company then went to another one, my biggest competitor, that has been trying to hire me prior, but then they went public. So between all of those transactions and all the lucrative nature, I was able to save some money and moved back to New Orleans and took care of my dad that had a stroke and built some homes, and here we are.
Wow. Well,
all that happened kind of same time.
So when you were doing the sales with all that, where did the music come into play?
Well, I did it all for the raves. So I did most of the big rave EDM type festivals.
Okay.
So that was my focus because all my friends were rave dance music promoters, but at the same time, dance music had an explosion again in 2008. Okay. So I was at the right place, the right time with the right connections. So when dance music was exploding and these underground raves were becoming tadpoles, which are now owned by Live Nation and so forth.
Oh, wow.
Like I was a partner in EDC.
Yeah.
So I
wish I would have knew you back then.
Well, it's just you don't. But again, you don't realize the potential of something until it fully matures.
Right.
And I was in a way different place when EDC finally matured. But still, the guy that runs that company, not Live Nation, but Pasquale, just a downright good person. He's
right on.
He
seems like it. I mean, from all the videos I watched them on.
he's business.
Yeah.
But I know where he
it's a
comes
business.
from. I know his mother. I know his family. He's for the most of the sharks in LA, he's one of the good guys, if you ask me. But I got to meet a lot of powerful people, and ultimately, I was able to sell a lot of tickets, and stuff adds up.
But as far as like music goes, because I know like you produce music, or like what do you do?
Well, when I was through college, I put myself through college as a DJ.
Nice.
Before it was cool.
Yeah, for
I'd
sure.
go buy the vinyl records on the State Palace Theater, heavyweight. And that's the
American
guy that
times.
that talked me to move to LA.
Wow.
But I used to DJ, and I would DJ at Ampersand. That was an awesome.
Oh
club.
yeah. What was your DJ name?
I went by my name.
Okay.
Because nobody cared. Nobody knew who I was.
Yeah.
It was more about I was able to make money playing music, doing what I love to do. I love loud electronic. Like,
It's funny you say that, man, because one of my goals next is to learn how to become a DJ. Because I have, if Shaq could do it, I think I could do it. But not right now, but maybe later
he
on.
could also do magical things with a basketball that I'll never be able to do.
For sure.
But DJing to me was cool with vinyl. I like the touch of it. I like the smell of the vinyl. I like going to the record stores and finding the music. There was a lot more to it that now you sit in front of a computer and click away, and I just don't like that.
Yeah.
It's just a different experience.
It's a different vibe. And I know a lot of the DJs now, they continue to kind of make it look like they're spinning something, scratching something, but we all know it's the digital.
The real art in it is almost the live component aspect. Like if you can take Ableton or even maybe Serato or something.
Armin van Buuren with the guitar live.
Yeah, but all that stuff, like I helped Armin win DJ of the Year once. The whole story, but still.
Wow.
I mean, I can go deep on all these crazy stories, but still, let's skip to the meat and potatoes. But the fact, like Armin would just have stage props, but the real soul and magic is when certain people just put things together that just simply work. And everybody tries to deconstruct it and say how they did it, what they did, but it doesn't really matter. They were in the right mind space. They were doing what they like to do. So,
do you believe like people's success, kind of caveating off of what you said earlier, like you were in the right place at the right time? Do you believe like most success is due to that? Like for instance, if you work hard, stay consistent and disciplined at what your craft is, eventually you'll be in the right place in the right time and the success will come? Or what do you believe? Because it seems like you've had a lot of success and you've been around a lot of successful people.
I think Rick Rubin in one of his books, his most recent only book, it was about creativity and the art of creativity, but it actually turned out to be a book about how to be and what defines success. So there's commercial success. And he even goes as far as saying, well, authenticity versus sincerity. Like authenticity is an artist that does something for them, not to please you, whereas sincerity, it's just he breaks it down well. But to answer your question in terms of consistency and all that, honestly, I probably would never ever work as a DJ right now, even if I was 20 years younger, because the way the climate, social climate, politics, and all that has changed. The way people, where they even go. I mean, back then they used to have good drugs and it was a different culture. It was like if I was sitting here talking about if I was alive during the hippie culture.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've been to Burning Man 8 times and all these crazy festivals. I've seen Daft Punk play twice in a year. I've seen a lot of stuff in that specific genre that's just like kind of mind blowing. Like, but only I've seen that.
Yeah.
So my perception is just me. And, from the looks at me, I'm just your average Joe Blow. But in reality, I think when it comes back down to your things about consistency and all that, I think that's the case with everything. I don't care if you're a restaurant. I don't care who you are.
Right.
You have to be consistent. You have to be disciplined. But you also have to know who you are, your weaknesses, and then what you're up against, whether it's yourself or even the people around you. All of it. You got to be aware, mindful,
Right. I remember when I first started talking to you, shout out to my buddy Benjamin Adams who introduced us. Thank you, Benjamin. Always coming through.
Always, man.
Yeah, man.
Ben's awesome.
Yeah, man. I mean, he's part of the reason I was even able to start this thing, because he pointed me in the right direction. And then Chris came along, and here we are, 50 episodes later.
Congratulations.
Thank you, man. Still trying to stay consistent and disciplined, and that's why I was asking you all that stuff a little bit. But honestly, man, like you said something on the phone when we first started speaking, and now I'm freaking catching a brain fart about it. But it was about how you like stayed. I guess like you said, like when you were living in LA, how you just kind of like stayed to yourself, and like you were like constantly working, you know, like because you were able to quote unquote like retire early at an early age because of your work ethic. And I guess that's kind of what I was sort of.
I think a lot of things in our development, and there's go back to reference another book, The Coddling of the American Mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great book.
Yeah.
And it's about what's wrong with universities right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it basically, there's a lot of helicopter parenting going on. A lot of parents that are just they don't let their kid get bruised and learn.
For sure.
Hey, you lost, son.
Yeah.
Whatever. You lost.
Yeah, you suck at football. Play baseball. Yeah.
Whatever.
You don't get a trophy.
You get them a trophy now, even when they come in.
That's what I'm saying.
But it's not.
Yeah. It's not how it's supposed
to be. It's not
be.
building the leaders of tomorrow.
No.
But
not everybody wins, man.
What was your question again? Because you got me on that emotional. Yeah. So that's my brain switched to emotion.
Well, like your success of being able to do what you've done at such like an early age and a quick age.
So
like,
I'll
you just
go back
kind
to
of worked.
No, I came up under a pretty militant stepfather,
mm-hmm.
and I watched how he rolled and mm-hmm. how he started his own business and came from nothing.
Oh, cool.
My mom lived in the projects, like one of seven siblings, to her dad already. You know, mom died at 59. My mom's 62 now. So 60, well, I can't keep track, but still, the point is, I come from some hardworking blue collar folk, and I mean, they showed me the way. And
gotcha.
Also I learned from hard knocks, whether it was building stuff with my dad, framing sheds, or you know, doing AC work, getting mm-hmm. knocked off ladders. I learned education was the way.
Gotcha.
And so I got smart and followed that. And I think that it's more like back to the state of being and determination. Really, when you're determined, you can pretty much do anything. And people want to look to crutches and all this stuff. I mean, I was diagnosed autistic as a child.
Yeah, I remember you told me.
Is that a good or bad thing? I don't know, but I never was told until recently. I found the envelope.
Oh, wow.
Like, yeah, it's like original paper from the 80s.
Yeah.
But did they really diagnose me right? Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
And the point is, you can live through life or go through your life and blame things, what didn't happen, what have you. But when you give it your all and you give it everything 110%, as I like to say, which is not really a number, but it's everything you have. I tell you, there's a lot of times I came close to quitting at a lot of different things, but I knew that I was almost there, and I had to just push through a little bit further. And so it's a matter of sheer will.
Yeah, that's
what determination.
That's what I was going to ask you. If like willing things into your life or willing stuff to happen is like seems to be what you got to do, man. Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I call it manifestation to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you manifest the thought, and so I was taught property was the answer for long-term success and things mm-hmm. like that. Yeah. But it comes through hard work.
Right.
And none of my parents were educated at college and whatever, so I was the first kid to finish college. Luckily, I got a scholarship, but you have to work hard to get a scholarship.
And to keep it.
And then once you get it, yes, all that. So it was a matter of just being told, here's the keys to success. And it's almost like I hear a lot of people that, you know, would say, oh, well, that's the white privilege or mm-hmm. whatever, all this. No. I think realistically speaking, we're now probably the least ones to get any kind of help. But it's
right.
Like the reality is, I think anyone, and I say anyone, you can look at people. I got a friend that he's missing 2 legs. He was a basketball superstar, and he got messed up with insulin. But mm-hmm. it's like he's such an inspiration to me in how he perceives his life now, the loss of that stuff. So it's like anyone can reframe things and think negative or positive. It's about what you want, but it goes back to what your manifestation is. And if it's something that's positive and you could see it and you could see yourself doing it, then that's it. It's like vision. You just
right. But that vision, you know, there's no paved road and time frame. It's like you just got to start and continue and go.
Yeah,
and
you gotta. I think it always, yes. Look, part of privilege is definitely part of me seeing someone do it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
believe me, that helped.
To have the honor to even watch somebody rise up like that.
So, and that's my stepdad.
And
so
that's definitely inspiration too, I would say, for sure.
And he's like my hero. And so, yeah, it's but the backstory with that is he had a rough upbringing,
right?
So he instilled his Marine Corps dad and his childhood into me to make me a better person. But then his two kids don't have the same stuff.
Yeah. So
it's strange how it all works, but I think
did y'all all get disciplined the same, or were they like
they coddled those two kids a lot?
Gotcha.
I was more of the stepchild, so I was just saying, throw them in deep waters,
right?
Make them swim. So yeah, I think that's what my youngest said, and I think he just got out of rehab. You know, drugs are bad and rampant. And they're only getting worse and stronger, and they grab
deadlier.
Of course, but they grab a hold of these kids a lot sooner now. Kids are starting to vape. I mean, I don't know. I look back in just the last 20 years, and I'm like, whoa, what the hell just happened? Like,
yeah, dude,
it's kind of crazy. But it's not about me, you know. In my life, I just kind of saw, and I manifested what I wanted in my future, just to be able to be stable and make some sacrifices. Big word, sacrifice. And then
I remember you saying that in the in the phone conversation. And like, what do you think like drove you to like want to have that kind of success? Because I'll be honest, a lot of people don't have like drive. Like they want stuff. They want like
they don't want to sacrifice what it takes to get there.
And that's what like what are some of the things that you sacrifice? Because I remember thinking about
you
that.
You can ask me what I sacrificed, or you can ask me what I think is a better question. Why did you choose to sacrifice the things you chose? Which would be, I think it really comes down to mentors. People around you that you look up to from the time you're small to throughout your age.
Student of life.
And it could be an athlete or whatever, but I think the people that you look up to is eventually who you ultimately, your value system and everything shapes around who you become. And so, you know, we have a lot of opportunity in this country, but people just don't take advantage of it because it's easier to blame someone else for your failure or lack of drive or attempts than it is to probably go out there and really
get the
chop it away. And I have always had the mentality, if somebody else isn't going to do it for you, you got to be willing to do it yourself. And I think a lot of leadership and generals, and if you read books, it's kind of that same mentality. You got to have it. And I think it's hard to have because I think that people have become a bit softer, or maybe I come from a family that had a lot of trauma. I mean, my stepdad, I was telling you about, he lost his youngest brother. So that probably made him realize, but he had his first house built himself. He built it himself, a duplex.
Wow.
By like the time he was 21.
Wow.
So if that's not showing me the way, because he's like, I live in one half, the other half's paid for by my good friend, and he works for me. Like, so he's already setting himself up for success.
Wild. Yeah.
And I mean, it's wild because who showed him?
Yeah.
And I know this whole story and who, but it's all about mentors, and it's about who do you want to follow, because it's your life. But with that said, you have the freedom to think what you're going to think, believe, and follow, and then act. And that manifestation all falls within that mentorship. It's kind of a value system that sort of all falls in line.
Do you like, as far as manifestation goes, like, do you write things out? Like, how do you? Because we speak a lot in.
I do. I write a lot of things. Yeah, I believe in journaling.
Okay.
I think that journaling is very important. Always having a pen and paper around is a good thing, especially to stay away from phones that have distractions and, just raw journals.
Notes, or journals. Notes.
Catch anything. When school's over with, go to Office Depot around mid-September and you can get everything half off. But you get a lot of good Pilot pens or whatever you like, and you
highlighters and
that's what works for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Some people might like video. You got a lot of phone content now. So me, I like journaling.
I still write a lot of shit down on pen and paper, man.
I think
got notes all over the place.
I do too, and I go back to a lot of stuff, and I got papers from the 80s that show me things from childhood, and my mom's like, "How'd you get that?"
Wow.
And it's like, I don't know, somehow.
They
survived 3 hurricanes and moved across the country and back.
Which is freaking rare, man, because most people don't even have like childhood photos from Katrina and whatnot. When you found out about the autistic thing, like, did you ever suspect? Because I mean, you're highly intelligent and super successful. Like, did you ever?
To me, I remember autism, and I think back and I think about Jim Carrey, and I think that was like the biggest thing I remember was his wife making the thing about vaccines.
Okay.
Maybe in the mid-90s or something.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Jim. I don't know. But then I was always a fan of Jim Carrey, but I think they were blaming vaccines for autism. I can't recall. But you're asking how it affected me?
Like, you said you didn't find out till later on in life, right. But like, did you ever think, oh, I have that, or because you said like your parents never told you?
I knew I was different.
Gotcha.
I went to special education. Mm-hmm. They recommended small groups, and then the minute I went into Catholic school, which my mom wanted for her hoity-toity sort of social thing, I got pulled out of the public system, which was right for me.
Yeah,
and they did the proper evaluations, and they put me in this Catholic system. I went from A+ all across the board to D-.
Yeah.
What's wrong with this kid?
Yeah, man.
But it's a matter of, I think those are the kind of things that were really tough versus having some sort of condition that we want to put a label to these mm-hmm. days. Because it's funny, I talk to people and they're like, well, I have ADHD, or I'm depressed, and all these clinical terms. And
mm-hmm.
like, I'm thinking, well, who diagnosed you, number one? Why?
Right.
What, did you just read this on a WebMD? Or, I mean, just being realistic about people, because we all have the choice, red pill, blue pill sort of thing. Mm-hmm. It's like, do we want to walk around in life and blame things for our I don't want to even use the word success, our non-ability to fulfill what we want to fulfill with our time on this planet?
Right.
Or do we want to manifest the thoughts, come up with the plan, do the hard, heavy lifting, the sacrifice, and push through?
Right.
And it's the hard truth. But I find people don't really want to be honest with themselves. It's just
definitely.
It's a human condition, I find, in more people than not. Definitely. Maybe that's a big thing about limiting. I mean, maybe people are automatically failing themselves before they even give it a shot. So I don't know where to start with that, but mm-hmm. I just see a common trait of people that are typically, or what you would call successful, but I say just they're more they accomplish, their execution, they get things done. I was looking at something the other night about the greatest quarterbacks, and there's Drew Brees right in the middle, the most undersized guy, but you look at him compared to Derek Carr, and it's just like, come on. Right. That guy, Drew, is just almost just surgical with his discipline and his. Yeah. And everybody told him he couldn't do it, and mm-hmm. but he was a bad MF. He's
consistency and discipline.
That's it. I mean, it keeps going back to that. But if you find out, well, who were your, and I've watched some documentaries on who was his mentors and stuff. It really goes into your early childhood development, and your mentors then sort of shape up who you want to be later in life.
I agree.
A lot of people just don't have that anymore because so many people are wrapped in themselves.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate, but I just find that trend to be...
Like a lot more people are selfish?
I think they're distracted, whether it's internet, social media, whatever. I think they're divided by politics, or maybe their child might be, transgender, whatever. And now they feel ashamed. Maybe they got personal situations, depression, sickness they don't want to reveal.
Yeah. A lot of addictions.
Well, whatever it might be.
Right.
Just people nowadays they have a lot more
going on.
going on, but I was looking for something a little more tactful. But yes, people. So with that said, they tend to isolate a little more.
Yeah.
And so people are moving into rural neighborhoods, different. It's just the family system, which is a very important part of system theory, which is part of social sciences. Family system is, I think, one of the strongest systems of them all. And the family system, I think, as I recall, I think the family system sort of falls in line with like the gang system, the mafia system, and so forth. And these are systems that make groups successful. So it's about having a belief, culture.
Right. I mean, I think you would say, like, with the family system, like having a good leader.
Mentors.
So,
it all ties
like a
together.
good mother, a good father. Like,
it all ties together.
Parenting a kid to bring them into the world and, like, show them the right way. And
values.
Yeah.
And all of that can change and vary. And I don't think there's a color, a weight, a sex, or anything that you can apply to that.
Yeah.
This is just the shaping of a
human nature,
of a mind, if you will. I mean, it's kind of a bowl of spaghetti, and we have different quadrants and stuff. I was reading something about a lobotomy earlier, but I was thinking, I bet some people were probably happier having one.
Right, dude. Yeah, just like wipe it
Get
out,
rid of it.
start fresh. Yeah. Well, I don't even, can you start fresh from that, or is it all gone?
I don't know exacts.
I always wondered that.
I really don't know the exacts. I think they used to go through your nose.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It's weird, but.
It's some crazy shit, man. It's crazy what we have experimented and done to figure out how to do what we do now. Because back then people, now people would call some of that torture.
Oh, I mean, that guy got the Nobel Prize.
Yeah.
The lobotomy guy. The guy that did it like 10 years. I mean, I think there was over 50,000 performed, but I mean,
wow.
You got to, I mean, honestly, I'm not a pro or subject expert, but I would think that ignorance is bliss in some occasions. And sometimes, like my dad, when he had a stroke, he lost a bit of that parietal lobe in the front of his brain.
Yeah.
And that involves your impulsive control, compulsivity.
Correct.
Your focus, everything. So it messes with all that, your emotions. So there's I could definitely see if you go in and just cut it out, because that's what stroke does, just kills it off. So I see the changes that it does a person, but I tend to wonder, maybe some people would be happier that way.
Well, was he able to bounce back from that as far as
not as full mental comprehension?
Gotcha.
No, that part of the brain's dead, but the brain's amazing. It rewires itself. I mean, he's living on his own. I had to build him a house, but still, it's all good.
Yeah,
everything's kosher. I mean, these are the kinds of things personally that I'm more proud of than all the other shit.
Right.
Like,
well, you were able to provide for him like he did for you, in a sense.
Well, of course. I mean, I built him a house that has another unit attached to it, so it's cash flow monster. Doesn't cost him anything, and it's brand new. I mean, I was able to set him up and give him a better, when nobody else was there for him. So. Gotcha. It worked out. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah, and I think that's what led me to trying to do some public service and give back. But then I realized quickly people just don't appreciate anything, including my father. So it's just human nature.
Wow. Why do you think that is, man? Why do you think we're so ungrateful nowadays? Is it because we have like too much available? We have too much exposed? Like, oh, that's nice. You built me a house, but look at this mansion on Instagram. Like, do you think it's stuff like that? Like, there's just too much?
No, I mean, my dad doesn't have Instagram, and he doesn't want to be a millionaire mansion or whatever. No, I think in his case, he's mentally handicapped, so it's hard to really, it's really hard to use him as a test case. But as far as the general person, I mean, I drove cheap cars since the last time I bought a new car was in 1999 with my own money.
Smart.
And I knew what I wanted, the color I wanted, everything. I went in there with the dealer price and said, "This is what I'm paying. Let's get out of here."
Yeah.
That was 25 years ago.
Right, back in the day when you could do shit like that.
Well, I just did it now. I had to pay MSRP, but I got a car you can barely get. So the reason I bring that up is I drove a lot of cheapies and stuff in between.
Right, sacrifice.
I mean, I might have had a decent one after my truck or first original got stolen. I had to like bounce back with something decent, but then I realized maintenance nightmare.
Right.
But yes, I very much appreciate now having something nice and new. You just you take care of it better. It's a whole different change of mind. Mm-hmm. And I think some people tend to look at other people's stuff and not really look at how good they have it, but if anything, they compare themselves to the higher end of the spectrum because they want to improve. I think it's maybe human nature to evolve that way. But once you look at how much you have it than all the rest of the people don't realize how privileged they are. You know, whether it's their arms, it's called ability. Mm-hmm. You know, you just be able to think, talk, walk, whatever. But
there's kids in other countries with like no legs, like your buddy, and smiling, just happy to be alive. And when I see stuff like that, I'm like, what am I bitching and complaining about today?
Yeah, it's like I think it goes back to the way of being, way of truly connecting with the earth and realizing our place. Mm-hmm. I mean, how old society really might be, or society that we or maybe former ones, but just still in all, we're still here. We're able to enjoy it, but we're becoming, by choice, almost more and more disconnected, and more and more anxiety and more stuff, all based on the ability to. I mean, we used to have Kodak booths like 20 years ago or something, man. And now it's like you have Instagram. So
for sure.
I mean, maybe I have
you have an instant booth right there in your hand, like your phone,
Well, that's what they call the new generation. It used to be like millennial and zillennials or some crap, but now it's iGen. So it's basically anybody that had a phone in their pocket for so long. I mean, it's iGen, but what do you do with that? Mm-hmm. Do you watch stupid videos all day, compulsive behavior, or swipe on dating apps, or do you use it for, if you're reading, is it credible? Because Wikipedia is just kind of like there's just so much, but I think it all comes back down to being just mindful and looking around and seeing things that are pretty obvious. I mean, I have a history honors for life badge and social sciences under my belt. It's all that, but still, you look at things and you look at the rapid pace of change and you look at technology and how, I think it's Intel's law, and if it's not Intel's law, it's the guy that founded Intel. It's his law that it's exponential growth of 3 times per year. So like 5 years under technology is like, I'm bad with math right now, but 15 years of, 45 years. That's exponential. It's 3 times exponentially. So people don't realize that. But like, remember we were playing Game Boys and stuff?
Oh yeah, dude.
And look what they got in their hands now. It's like,
it's like
PS3 and
souped up Game Boy.
I mean, no, it's like basically you take a 55-inch screen of the PS3 and put it on an iPad.
Dude, that's crazy.
I mean, that gives you a frame of. I mean, now you got people making AI, making false political stuff. I mean, where is this all going?
It's a scary time, man. I'll be honest.
Well, fear is something that it shouldn't. Fear is something you shouldn't let rule, because once you let that happen, all that manifestation stuff goes out the window. Yeah, you become reclusive, and that maybe that's people's problem. Maybe they're scared.
Well, I think a lot of people are scared, and going back to what I was gonna say earlier, like people don't have the drive. They feel some people probably feel defeated. They're like, oh, what's it gonna matter? What's the difference gonna make?
You know what? It all starts though with yourself, and I think that a lot of people are living not for them, but other people. And
I agree.
If you do that, then it falls into a lot of other proverbial type stuff like misery loves company. Yeah. So it just comes down to each person needs to realize they're individual and they have a ticket to the freak show that I call life.
Yes.
And if they're American citizens, they got a front row ticket.
Yeah.
TVs, whatever. We got all these things, privileges. Well, I think it's more like we're thinking about taking for granted, but it's your life to do what you want to do, whatever that might be. But we know there's challenges and, you know, most all of it. But it's just, I study it a lot. Like I look at that and I just don't understand, why people make some of the choices that they make, but I don't think we ever will. I mean, it's a personal thing. I don't think sometimes they know why they make the choices.
Yeah.
But I think that sometimes when we have people, mentors, they give us the ideas, we manifest, and we bring it on ourselves to execute or form the discipline to do stuff. And I think you got to start to like do small things and win. You're going to lose too.
Oh, yeah.
But you got to start to establish these risk reward systems, just like an addict.
Yes.
That's how an addict's brain works.
Yes.
Or, you know, it's a risk reward.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do that with life. Here's the risk. The greater the risk, usually the greater the reward. But don't make it too big on your first shot. But
yeah.
Like I remember when I was like flipping dirt bikes when I was like a 10-year-old. I used to buy them from people that would blow them up, fix them, and sell them to the same group of friends or their you know, competitive group of friends. But like that's you know, if I used the word hustler, it sounds bad, but that's what I was.
Yeah.
You know, I was like
Hustling
7 or
dirt
8
bikes.
years old. Yeah.
Dude.
But that's the mentality you have to have.
Well, yeah.
And that's what you got to grow up around is people that give it to you real, because that coddling stuff, man, it's not good.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, and the world's not nice like that. You know?
No.
You know?
The world is one unforgiving, mean MF.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why when you coddle your child, if you just send them out there,
Yeah.
it can be tough for them.
Yeah.
Like my little brother didn't have the same upbringing I had, lived behind fancy gates, went to the same schools and everything, but just didn't have the same tough love.
Yeah.
He ended up, he went to the Marines or former armed forces. And when he got out, like, he was a different person. And then he went into rehab.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know whether they screwed him up or he realized, but there was some psychological development that didn't occur with that kid. But
Yeah.
he said that all of those things that happened to him might be the best thing ever.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, because you grew up.
Yeah.
You got to learn.
Yeah.
But, you know, hopefully he stays the track. I know it's hard for somebody like that, but it's hard for me. It's hard for me to remain positive and make good choices.
Yeah, I mean I think that's human
life's
nature.
test.
Yeah, man. That's life testing you. And I think most people, going back to being educated, I think that the more you start to learn, like you said earlier, you're a student of life, which I feel like I am also. The more that I educate myself and the more that I learn, I feel like I understand. And a lot of people go through things and do crazy shit because they just don't know better. You know? Yeah,
and they don't want to even take time to reflect.
Myself included.
But life, like, you know, the more you fail and the more that you do, and it doesn't work out your way or whatever, most people, again, back to perception. Some people can look at that and say, I'm a complete failure. What was I thinking?
Yeah.
Or somebody could look at it and go, well, it was a good learning lesson.
Yeah.
Let me use that to move forward
For sure.
into something else.
How do I capitalize on that failure?
Well, like, I'm seeing a career counselor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were talking about
Talking to one like tomorrow or the next day, because I'm tired of embarking on endeavors that turn out being a waste of my time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I'm not talking about like Bitcoin or scam bullshit, but like something I'm truly passionate about that I try, and then I get in there and I'm like, what was I thinking?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you got to break it down with someone. You know, what kind of person are you? Are you trying to do acts of service? Are they verbal? Are they using your hands, your mind? What is it? So it's a lot deeper, but that's something I'm fortunate enough to have that issue.
Mm-hmm.
B, that's a choice, because I could just keep trying, or I could just say, hey, let's pump the brakes, seek some professional help here and get some better perspective to move forward. But, you know, there is no path. There is no right way, but there is a way of being that will play in your favor. And there's a lot of teachings. And I think the Buddhists have a lot of good stuff.
Yeah. I agree.
You know, Jesus and those, but that's, you know, people would consider that organized religion.
Yeah.
But it's just, you got to start to, we have so much content at our hands now that we have to start to utilize that and use our time spent correctly. Like, you can subscribe to these things that read a book to you in 15 minutes. They give you an outline. I'd much rather do 3 of those a week than 1 book a month.
Gotcha.
You get way more knowledge. And if you want to read the whole book, you read it.
Right.
But it's back to, where do you want to put your time?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people these days would rather just escape. They'd rather play video games or whatever it is that it's mindless stuff.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know if that's culture. I don't know what it is, but these are all these things are the belief systems or the reasons why I think I'm able to go out and make stuff happen versus, I might fail. I might not, no.
Yeah.
And if you do, at least you know you gave it everything and you got reasons for failure and you learn from it. I think it was Marcus Aurelius wrote, if he didn't write a book about it, somebody else wrote the book, but it's called The Obstacle is the Way.
Mm-hmm.
You're always going to have bumps in the road and things knocking you off the horse. You got to be willing to dust off, get up, and prevail.
And I think most people nowadays, they want like instant validation.
Absolutely. I mean, we live in a world where a package comes to you in 2 days.
Yeah.
Like, why even go to the store?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just...
No, I know, dude. I still shop at all the grocery stores, and my friend was like, you could just order that. And I was
Walmart delivery, everybody tells me.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm like, well, where does this stuff come from? Mexico?
Yeah.
This? Like, I actually do pay attention to the stuff I put in my body.
Oh, yeah.
Like, my fish. I wanted to come out of Lake Pontchartrain and preferably caught by my family. And go.
Yeah.
It's just, people will say, oh, that's privilege. Well, you know what? You can go sit on the side of the road
and go fishing, yeah.
Or you can go to the farmer's market and buy it.
Right.
For I think it's like $5 for half a pound.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to pay for any kind of lunch meat or whatever in the store.
Mm-hmm.
And people love to make excuses about why they don't eat healthy. Oh, I don't have the time or the money.
Right.
You got the time and the money.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to, again, be disciplined, use your head.
Right.
It's just people would rather make excuses than just bite the bullet.
Yeah, and it's easier to follow suit, like fall in line. And I think a lot of people nowadays just do that.
Almost like we're trained now.
Yeah, I was literally going to say that.
300 years prior, we were no taxation without representation.
Yeah.
And now it's like we're trained based on a bunch of idiots storming the Capitol, and we're afraid that, it's just like, I don't know. I don't know if it's media or I really do not know. But
there's definitely
you see it.
Yeah, every day, man. Every day.
I'm not jaded.
Yeah.
I'm
but I think that goes back to perspective and like who taught you growing up and like just like your value and belief systems. Like
all that stuff is so important. Even if it's a teacher at your school.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be a parent stuff, but yeah, there's a lot of lame parents, unfortunately.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff starts at home.
Yeah, for sure.
Bad.
Yeah, it all starts from home, to be honest. And if you have a good teacher, I've been fortunate enough to have a few good ones that have like pointed me in the right direction. And so, I definitely believe, it starts from home. It's up to the parents to like teach the kid the right way. Hello? Chris. Okay.
Who's scared?
43 minutes. My friend Ellis outside.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought he said Ellis. I'm like, man.
Yeah, Ellis scared me.
Am I talking about
He's getting fucking crazy.
I'm not talking about some crazy stuff.
We'll splice it back into it. So, so we'll probably, let's see, 43 minutes. We'll do like 14 more minutes because then we'll be at an hour. Yeah, man.
You have the floor.
Well, honestly, I was going to ask you like some of your thought processes on like modern day stuff. But I guess we've been kind of talking about that. But where do you feel like right now, where you're at and what you've been doing, where do you see yourself going like in the next year? Because you're a very calculated guy. Like you don't, like I know you're going to see a counselor tomorrow about like what you were talking about.
That's define.
Yeah, because you want to make sure you're making like the next right move, right? I mean, I think that's pretty badass because a lot of people would say like, oh, I don't need that. you know?
I mean, at the same time, life's a journey, not a destination. So you got to be able to, stick and move. I mean, they're saying that this rest of this hurricane season could be really bad because of El Nino and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
So who really knows?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't, I can't, this thing,
I don't worry anymore, man.
I can't predict the future.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's like you can't worry about the future. You can't predict it. You can only take the necessary steps in front of you on that path of success and trying to fulfill that manifestation. And it's weird because people explain to me like a thought manifest. It's created. It's like inertia.
Yeah.
It's not created. It's not destroyed. Well, then it's got to have movement. So it usually moves through the frontal lobe of the brain. That's where it's calculated, logical, emotional, and it goes from there. But it's like, I can tell you there's a lot of things I can tell you I don't want to do, things I've already done. And that's where it starts to get hard, is you start to have a lot of options, but you also run out of options. And
yeah, because you've done a lot of stuff, man.
Yeah, I mean,
in a short amount of time, because you're not that old.
And you got to just, I guess, keep in mind that retirement and doing nothing is not a good way to live your life.
Right.
You got to have discipline, and you got to have focus. You got to have purpose. These are all things that people don't have, that I think that's why they would rather just make up stories about what limits them. But these are all things that I know that I have to go find and do, because I'm a young man.
Yeah.
So, that career counselor will likely get the best of me, and I have some ideas of what I want to do, but I got to go through training and certification. And when I get through all that, then we'll go from there. But I kind of have to look at life as like Bill Belichick looks at the reporters after the game. Let's focus on the next opponent. That's it. And I'm a day-to-day, week-to-week kind of person. Like, let's one day at a time, if you will.
So. Correct. That's how I live. What was Burning Man like, man? I got to ask you, because
life-changing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the simplest way I can say it. Yeah. And I did it every which way, from the most broke,
right,
driving up a van and setting up a tent way, to being on the Burning Man specialty grid and getting flown in.
Wow.
So yeah, I've done it all which ways, but that's what's great about it, because you still get the same product or whatever at the end of it, but your experience is different.
Right.
So I've gotten different perspectives. It's almost like living in New Orleans under the bridge, and then living uptown in a mansion or something. You still live in New Orleans,
right?
But you
kind of level up.
Your perspective is totally different. So Burning Man, I mean, first, it's a social experiment, and it brings cultures and people of all walks of life together. And then, it humbles you, just like anything that I've done that's got a lot of people that it just, and also like you realize things you don't have, running water, electricity, AC, and you're at Mother Nature's wrath. And I didn't go this year, but they had like a rain out.
I heard about that. I heard,
but
it was
I've
pretty
had all
crazy.
that stuff happen to me before it was popular.
No shit.
They didn't talk about it.
How many years has it actually like been around now?
Oh, a long time, like the 90s.
Wow, because I know EDC's been around like 20-something years at this point.
EDC's been around for quite some time, but I know it's just moved its venues and so forth, and it got big around 2010 when it hit the Coliseum. But Burning Man started off as like there's a documentary, I think, on Netflix, but it started off as like somebody died. It was like just a little ceremonial thing, and it turned into a gathering.
Wow. I'm gonna go one day.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's only getting more expensive. So
I've heard a lot of different scenarios on like when you get your ticket, like what you got to do. There's like a lot of you have to bring like so much weight and water.
Yes,
like,
you don't have. The only thing they sell there is ice and coffee.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like, if you can live your life and still go through those things and those types of challenges, you realize a lot about yourself.
Yeah.
And you start to realize a lot about other people's lack of radical self-reliance and lack of radical inclusion. So when you talk about these terms like inclusion and equality and stuff, you realize it doesn't really exist. You can make your safe rooms, but in the real world, it's every person for themselves.
Yeah.
It's animal kingdom.
For sure.
And we can be as sympathetic as possible, but that's kind of like in our DNA. So Burning Man sort of brings that out. And I've learned like fire brings people together, food brings people together, lots of things. And I've seen a lot of stuff there that's just changes your perspective on life. Like my good friend slash housemate at the time, we shared this nice house in the Hollywood Hills, like entourage style. But he had his own side of the property and I had mine. But he said, when you came back from Burning Man, you were a different person than he went.
Oh, wow.
And then he's like, now I understand.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I always tell people about EDC, you know, even if you're not into music like that. Or
actually, the founder of EDC is the one that got me to go to Burning Man.
Wow.
And that's awesome, some friends of mine, but he's the one that finally was like, you got to go.
Yeah. I've tried to bring every one of my close friends to EDC and tell them, like, even if you don't listen to music like that, it's like life-changing.
But EDC has a lot of the similarities and components of Burning Man.
Okay.
Communal.
Yeah.
Making people the headliners, the costumes and stuff. But Burning Man is just a different thing. Like
they build it, burn it, and don't leave it type of thing?
Well, it reminds you life is ashes to dust.
Oh, wow.
That's what it's all about. Like you burn it down, the city's gone. They build a city in a week, it's gone.
Gotcha.
But the cooler thing about it is people bring their best artwork and best self forward. And there's like this there's 10 principles that guide the event, but there's like this underlying genuine love. And it's like people are colorblind, people are, like the real world doesn't exist. It's a pretty gnarly experience.
Yeah.
And I think I was going to say that EDC with the art cars and all that, but Burning Man, that's 12 times, 20 times. Yeah, I mean,
I've heard people flying like fucking airplane hangars there and like building these cities and
it's one city.
Okay,
Black Rock City. It's
gotcha.
A post office. It's a legitimate. It's like the biggest city in Nevada, or one of the biggest cities for just a week. It's crazy. It's.
I'm gonna go one day.
The more I researched it, the more I appreciated it. But I could say that these are all things that I've done in my life, in my past. That's kind of like, what's next?
Yeah,
that's why I need
to
sit and think about that, because you never really finished. You know, there's no like. You know, people use the word retirement or completion and stuff. No, I just want to keep
getting better.
Not getting better. No, I want to feel my purpose and feel like life still has that zest that it had for the last 40 years.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
well, I mean, I just did that ayahuasca ceremony like 2 weeks ago.
How was that?
It was, I needed it. And that's why I like talking about the Burning Man stuff, you know. Obviously, like I'm in active recovery and things like that, but this was something like 7 years ago. I had like seen people talk about, heard Joe Rogan talk about it. I had two of my buddies go to Machu Picchu, and
just tell
after
me
they
how was it like? It's give me the nut. We don't have enough time.
I know, man. So I'm still processing it,
okay, that's a fair answer.
But what I got from
journal about it.
You are enough. You are the light. You are the dark. Like you're the energy. Like all you need is you, man.
That's it. Well, that's all you have.
That's and that's all there is around.
All the stuff that I have could be gone tomorrow.
Yeah. But there's like something greater beyond like us. Like,
right.
Yeah.
There is.
And
that's
all
a higher
over.
level of existence that we don't want to face, because we could barely face ourselves on this planet. Yeah. That's all the things that I've practiced and learned and. You know, I used to do.
You ever tried it?
No, but the dean of my college, he's doing a bunch of extensive research about it, and also like having to correct addictions and like you talked about recovery.
Yes, and that was one of the reasons. Yes, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do it, was to see what it was going to do to my brain after, you know, because I have an addictive personality and I am an addict.
So how did it change anything? I mean,
it makes me feel like the choices that I make, right? Because most people believe like addiction is a disease, which it is.
No, it's a choice.
And that's pretty much at the end of the day. It's like, all right, I choose to vape this pen, or still smoke cigarettes, or the week prior before I gave up everything, coffee. Yeah, man. And you know what's really funny? When I gave all that shit up, like 2 weeks in, and a week in, and a week after, I was like, I felt fine. I felt normal. I actually felt more clear.
There you go.
And then you start realizing all the shit that you're putting in your body. You're like, so that's really polluting my brain. My brain is trying to heal. And, and so I've actually been doing some experiments these last like week and a half. And I don't know, man. I think when I go to EDC, I'm going to have a different perspective on like just the way I used to do it compared to now.
Well, I've been to EDC sober.
Yeah.
I've been to Burning Man's. Like, I've done all these things, different experiences, different ways. But at the end of the day, yeah, you do realize very few people care at the end of the day of like your life and who you are. So I think maybe that's why people kind of have gotten more bitter, because people are more just self-indulgent, a little more hedonistic. But I'm not sitting here telling anybody this or that, because I could be the same ways. It's just, again,
well, it's a choice.
Mindful. It's a choice. Being mindful and knowing who and what you are and where you are. And you know, there's times when I can be reckless, and I choose to do it because I can. And it's admittedly an act of I can do it kind of thing. But then there's times when I want to do something and I don't because it's not the right time and place. So
and that's discipline.
And that's discipline. So it's all about perspective. It's all about the spectrum of your vision. But people don't somehow, they only operate on one speed, and that's it. You got to be able to. What's the saying that with the? If you don't bend, you break. You got to be flexible.
Oh shit! Yeah.
And your mind too, like the Big Lebowski said. You know, keeps his mind limber with a strong drug regimen.
Yeah, yeah.
But that could be
thoughts,
not so good. But I mean, people compulsively eat. I mean, people have a lot of compulsive behavior problems, and it's not just drugs. It's
for sure.
Just
I know plenty of people that don't do any drugs, and they do a lot of other bad shit to themselves.
And we're kind of self-inflicting, harmful creatures. That's just, I don't know why, but that's sort of a thing of our brain too. It was in the Terminator. He's like, people are wired to self-destruct.
For sure. Yeah, I know. They saw that. Ain't that crazy?
Right.
Like
even they
didn't believe in this, but you know, if you read in the book, it says like that he does. So I always think to that, like, you know, I was like, why does he believe in us so much? But I don't know. I've been dabbling into that. So, but I really appreciate you coming on the show tonight, man. I know we've been talking, and hopefully this went as well as you hoped, because
I actually don't even really realize what we talked about.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'd have to rewatch it and make my own comments and assessments.
That's my favorite part.
But I'm into what we're talking about. I'm not really into
if you
what
want,
I look like on camera. I don't care.
Nah, dude, you look great, dude.
That's not where my head's at.
Head's at, well, you're at a different level.
Yeah, well, that's what you learn in life is don't worry about all the stuff you can't control and whatever. Just focus on what's right in front of you, and that's something I had to learn. If you send it to my email, I probably won't look at it. But if you're in front of me, it's a different situation. Yes. You are an obstacle, but the obstacle's the way. Let's approach it. Let's deal with it. So, no, thanks for having me.
Thank you, man. And next time I have you on, we'll definitely kind of dive into some of the other stuff that's been going on that we talk about. And I'm excited to see where that can go
it's all
for
fair
us.
Game.
Oh, yeah, man. But, I mean, also to bring awareness, and which, you know, you strike me as the kind of guy that it's like you want to help the world, you know. So
you just got to be cautious on that one, because taking on too much of that energy, you got to realize we're only...
Oh yeah, you know,
we can only handle so much.
For sure, man. That's why I'm trying to find a bunch of people like me that are interested in the same things and want to do the same thing. So
it's hard.
Thank you, dude. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe to the channel. And if you guys would like to follow Ellis, and if you got any questions for him, he's always available, right? I mean, you know, you're a good mentor to people. I mean,
I like helping people.
Yeah, well, you like teaching too. That's one thing I noticed.
I do, but I, you know, we'll maybe figure that out.
Yeah, next. We'll find out with the counseling session. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you next time. And have a good night. Thank you.